Okay, insanely simple. The obsession that drives Apple's success. Don't bury your fact in facts. Human beings are funny locked. Give them one idea and they nod their heads. Give them five and they simply scratch their heads. Or even worse. Don't forget, hey. They forget you mentioned all those ideas in the first place. Minimizing is the key to making a point stick. Though this is common sense, it may also be the most violated principle in marketing or any other business. Your point will be more quickly understood and more easily remembered if you don't clutter it up with other points. Strangely, some of the most brilliant people on earth sometimes need to be reminded of it. Even a certain someone who studied that upstart technology outfit operating out of Cupertino. At one agency meeting with Steve Jobs, we were reviewing the content of a proposed iMac commercial when a debate arose about how much we should say in the commercial. The creative team was arguing that it would work best if the entire spot was devoted to describing the one key feature of this particular iMac. Steve, however, had it in his head that there were 4 or 5 really important things to say. It seemed to him that all of those copy points would fit comfortably in a 30-second spot. After debating the issue for a few minutes, it didn't look like Steve was going to budge. That's when a little voice started to make itself heard inside the head of Lee Klo, leader of the Chiat team. He decided this would be a good time to give Steve a live demonstration. Lee tore 5 sheets of paper off of his notepad. Yes, notepad. Lee was laptop resistant at the time. And crumbled them into 5 balls. Once the crumbling was complete, he started his performance. "Here, Steve, catch," said Lee, as he tossed a single ball of paper across the table. Steve caught it, no problem, and tossed it back. "That's a good ad," said Lee. "Now catch this," he said as he threw all 5 paper balls in Steve's direction. Steve didn't catch a single one, and they bounced onto the table and floor. "That's a bad ad." "Whoa," said Lee. "That's amazing. I love that this is Apple. This is Apple." I hadn't seen that one before, so I rather enjoyed it. And it was pretty convincing proof. The more things you ask people to focus on, the fewer they'll remember. Lee's argument was that if we want to give people a good reason to check out an iMac, we should pick the most compelling feature and present it in the most compelling way. Steve didn't exactly break down and pledge never to question us again. However, he did appreciate the point. Lee's demonstration lightened the tone of the conversation and turned the tide for us. When we left the room, we had a go-ahead for music simpler than the one Steve had in his head at the start. I couldn't help but have flashes of that meeting when I found myself working at Intel's agency several years later, sitting in an edit room looking at the final version of the first commercial in our new campaign. I got a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach when I counted the things in the ad that we were asking our audience to absorb. The spot itself had 4 titles spread throughout, each one stating a product feature. Then at the end of the spot, it had not 1 or 2 but 4 screens containing titles and graphics that wrapped it up. At this moment, I wished Lee Klo could step in and throw his paper balls, or even better, Steve Jobs would show up and fire someone. Except I realized that this particular someone might be me. Steve wouldn't have cared that we'd tried every argument to make the spot simpler. To him, that would only mean we'd failed. But there was no Lee or Steve in this room. Instead, there was a team of expert marketers from the client and agency, most of whom were giving this ad an enthusiastic thumbs up, and that was understandable. There was at least one element in there to please every stakeholder, each of whom needed to see a certain message or logo flashed on the screen. Unfortunately, simplicity can't just swoop in like Han Solo and save the day at the 11th hour. Your message needs to be minimized from the start. People will always respond better to a single idea expressed clearly. They tune out when complexity begins to speak instead. Alright, crazy. I got reminded how simplicity matter again. Focus on one idea, one thing, one priority. You can do them better. Your audience will remember them better. That's all that matters. If your audience don't even listen, what's the point? Okay. Thank you for reading with me. See you later. 停止录像。